Christmas and ghost stories may not immediately seem like two great tastes that taste great together, but actually, they're a perfectly natural fit. Although it's largely forgotten now, the practice of gathering around a fire to tell spooky stories was a popular Victorian Christmas tradition for years. As the evidence in this line from "It's the Most Wonderful Time of Year," there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. I had an unusual visitor on Christmas Day 2008, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Santa Claus passing by my house in Bloomington, Indiana. The day started in a typical fashion, with opening gifts around the Christmas tree. I served an early Christmas dinner for friends and family, and everybody departed by 5 p.m., except for my sister and brother-in-law who lived with me. They were sleeping in the bedroom at the end of the hall, with the door open. I went into my bedroom with my dog Toby and shut the door securely. I was just dozing off when I heard the latch on my bedroom door open. I waited several seconds for my sister or brother-in-law to ask me whatever they came to say, but there was no other sound. It was almost 7 p.m., so my bedroom was pitch black. I had left lights on in the kitchen and the bathroom, and there were a lot of Christmas lights in the living room, so the hallway would have been well lit. I would be able to see whoever was in the door just by lifting my head. I pushed the blankets down and lifted my head from the pillow. But just as I would be able to see who was in the doorway, an extremely bright light hit me right in the eyes. I shielded my eyes and yelled, "Turn out the fucking light! You're blinding me!" The light immediately disappeared, and I heard the bedroom door latch closed. My bedside light is a touch lamp, so I tapped it on and looked around the bedroom. There was no one in the bedroom except me and Toby. Toby jumped off the bed and went to the door without showing any signs of alarm. At first I was frightened because Toby is a Dutch shepherd, well trained to be an excellent watchdog and proven personal protection dog. Since Toby was already up, I decided to go let him outside and see what sister and brother-in-law needed. When I went into the hallway, I could see both of them still in bed. I took Toby to the living room to let him outside, and there was nobody there either. So who opened my bedroom door and turned a spotlight on my face? Like most people, the thoughts of loved ones are always close at hand during the holiday season. When I first went to lie down, I was thinking how happy I was that my small family had enjoyed a pleasant Christmas. But it would have been better, so much better, if my mother and brother still had been alive to share it with us. I would like to think it was my brother's spirit stopping by to say, "Merry Christmas. I'm still thinking of you too." I haven't been able to debunk this strange event or find any kind of rational explanation. I'm half afraid that my heart stopped during my sleep, and the light I saw was the bright light people report after a near-death experience. Leave it to me to see this stairway to heaven and ruin my chance at eternal paradise by saying, "Turn out the fucking light." I made a mental note that if I ever see another bright light, to clean up my language, just in case. On Christmas Eve night, 1978, at about 3 a.m. in Klamath Falls, Oregon, I was suddenly awakened by a choir singing. The house was new construction, miles from the nearest church. I strained to hear any words I could understand, or a tune I could identify, but I could not understand the language or tune. I did get a feeling of angelic exaltation, reverence, and gladness of heart. This was truly a heavenly choir, lifting their voices on high, singing a sonnet in the highest and in an unknown language, without accompaniment of instruments. I examined the TV, but it was turned off, as the radio. I explored outside, but the singing was not heard outdoors. The countless male, female, and children's voices intertwined together, the tonals going from an operatic high to the deepest bass voices in a perfect harmony. It must have lasted about 10 minutes, but it was touching for an eternity. My parents and I lived in a small home that was around 90 years old. The year would have been 1996. We lived there from the time I was 7 years old to the time I was 19. From the very day that we moved in, I felt that I wasn't alone. One year, around Christmas time, I was having a friend spend the night. The heat had just shut off briefly, and she and I were sitting in the living room watching television when the temperature dropped substantially. As I rose to turn up the heat, the Christmas tree began to shake violently. Ornaments were falling off, right and left. She and I were terrified. We ran up the stairs and lay down in my bed. My white cat curled up with us. My door was open slightly. When I gazed out at the dark hallway, I was horrified to see a tall white figure run down the hall. I turned to my friend, and she acknowledged that she had seen the exact same thing. She never spent the night ever again. My mother, to whom I was very close, passed away in 1964 when I was 17 years old. I left home that year and moved to Ontario from Nova Scotia. In 1969, I met a girl whom I will call Karen, and we got married in March 1970. In December of 1971, we were expecting our first child. We were living in a small 1.5 bedroom bungalow. There was a fireplace in the living room. My wife and I loved the fireplace, and we had it lit every night. It was Christmas Eve, 1971, and we had just finished putting gifts under the tree, and a nice fire gave off a beautiful glow. On the tree, one string of lights, which was supposed to flash, had stopped several days before. It was 5 minutes to midnight when the fireplace suddenly just about went out, and the string of lights started to flash, and the other lights stopped flashing. My wife and I were sitting on the floor, and it had become very chilly in the room. I looked over at my lazy boy chair, and a figure was sitting there. My mother with a big beautiful smile on her face. My wife, who had never met my mother, said she could see the same thing. This ghost never spoke, but just kept looking at me and my wife and smiling. At 12 midnight, the fire in the fireplace started up again, and the lights on the tree stopped flashing, and the others started flashing again. I looked over at the chair, and the ghost was gone. No matter what I did to those Christmas lights, they would never flash again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking that subscribe annotation on the screen. The links to the stories will be in the description below, as well as my email, my Twitter, and Instagram, so don't forget to follow. And remember, and don't forget, there is no such thing as a beautiful nightmare.